Okay, so we're going to kick the year off with a project that is long overdue, and it's one that is quite close to my heart. Some of you might recognise this van as the Rolling Home. In many ways it's the van that started it all. I've owned this for over 10 years and it's gone through many stages in the time that I've owned it, and I'm a bit embarrassed to say that it's been parked outside the workshop for well over a year, hasn't really moved. The Cornish weather's taken its toll, a lot of the rust is coming back through, and it's in desperate need of some love. So in the time that I've owned this vehicle, it's gone through many different stages. It's had a few different interiors inside of it. It went through an extensive refurb in terms of bodywork back when we launched our successful Kickstarter campaign to publish our first book. And this is the vehicle that took us all around Europe. When I say we, it's myself and my partner, with my fiancée Lauren. In many ways it's the van that started it all, and we call it the Rolling Home, and we gained a really large Instagram following back when the sort of van life movements first started. Now it's looking very sorry for itself, and I obviously have been pouring all of my time into other vehicles and launching onwards, and it's definitely been neglected. So now that we have the workshop and the access to tools and the knowledge required to build my dream van, hopefully over the next few episodes you'll see some of the bodywork being completed, and then a new onwards interior going in. So we're going to have a quick tour of the outside and some of the bodywork issues that we've got. You see the rubber seal's gone here, we've got a little hole forming. It's also going up the top here, so all of this door is going to have to be stripped down, and we're going to have to address a lot of this. We've got a hole in this front near side wing. This one actually isn't in too bad condition. Probably going to have to cut some of it out, but this one in particular is pretty bad. This one was replaced in the last round of bodywork, but you can see we've got the bracket for the front bumper here. That's going to have to be cut out and replaced. The actual inner arches on these front here aren't too bad. We've got a little bit of rust coming through on the bonnet, and that's quite bad if you have a look underneath. Front scuttle panel isn't too bad. The rubber seals come out there. You can see we've got a little bit of surface rust on the bonnet. This front arch is pretty bad too. You can see classic T4. That's what happens when you can see here as well. The join there isn't great, to be honest with you. Again, the inner arch isn't in too bad a condition. We've got a pretty bad hole happening down in this offside step and this sill here, so we're going to have to cut all of this out, and the actual bottom of the sill isn't too bad, but that's obviously where they joined the panel when we had the bodywork completed before, and obviously water's been getting in, and you can see the damage that can be done just by the moisture getting access to that steel there. So yeah, we're going to have to cut all of that out, and address all of that. We've got the back here. This is where I had a side ladder fitted, and unfortunately an elderly chap reversed into me in a supermarket car park and bent the bodywork in there. So I'm hoping that we can access that from the inside, push that back out, potentially remove the unwind rail temporarily, push this back out and get that sort of all sorted. Potentially got some patches to do at the back here as well, where the original underseal started to come away. So yeah, we'll have to get all these bumpers off and give it a good old inspection and find out exactly what we've got to do to get this vehicle back on the road. The seal down at the bottom here as well is starting to go. So underneath the fuel flap here, you can see that's starting to go. You know, there's a good chance that will open up into a hole. You know what? When we start to try and find some solid steel to weld patches to, and a bit of bubbling here on this seal here as well. So yeah, we'll get on the inside, and so you can see that when we had the skip here last year, I ripped all of the original interior out. This is the rubber mat out of the cab. You see we've got the Iroko flooring that I laid down a few years ago. I was really proud of this, but again, it just shows that if you neglect things, you have to expect that they're not going to last forever. So I think what I'm going to have to do is remove this Iroko floor to get to the subfloor, to check all of that, to check that we haven't got any patches that we need to weld in. Same with the cab. There are some areas in the cab, I think over in the driver's footwell there's a patch or two that we need to address. So we're going to have to remove some of the sound deadening there and weld in some patches. I'll show you these arches. unfortunately, you can see they're in a pretty bad state. So you've got the inner arch and the outer arch, and yeah, that's looking pretty bad. So I'm going to have to take all of the sound deadening material off of this wheel arch and the other one, take the floor up, and then cut all of this rot out and weld in some new panels. The cab is looking pretty sorry for itself. Obviously this is what a T4 that's done 200,000 miles looks like. Could do with some new upholstery on this front seat here. What I'll do is I'll show you the engine. So here's the engine. I did get it started yesterday. It took a little bit of coaxing to get it to run, but got it started. Had a little drive around the industrial estate. It pulls nicely. You can see it's got next to no coolant in it. It is the 1.9, I believe it's the 1X engine, so it's the 1.9 4-cylinder little baby engine. And you can see all the rocker covers a little bit rusty there. I'll have to have a closer look at the battery tray. All this scuttle panel on the front here is pretty damn rusty, so I think I'm going to get all of this front end off. There's a small chance I might drop the engine out, because it could do with a new clutch, and drop the engine out and just potentially address some of the issues, just things like this, that happens. Rubber perishes over time, so there's quite a few bits and pieces that we're going to have to check out, and I mean it would be amazing to drop the engine out and be able to give it a serious service, and get it all in there looking nice and shiny. So you see all the scuttle panel along here is in pretty good condition. This is a commonplace for rust with the T4s. This was all replaced in the first round of bodywork that we did a few years ago, so hopefully we can clean that all up and get a new rubber seal on there, and that'll be golden.
Quite a complicated experience, to say the least, for the last. And then into depression and anxiety, and then that combination will produce this gender dysphoria, and that will become quite intense around the... Okay, so you're having difficulties on the body image front, and that's exacerbated by your temperament and by early puberty, let's say. You're not as popular with your... It's generated by people who sound like they have the same issues that you do. And what you see is in relationship to a mental illness or a physical illness, or is there something about their and why they're miserable, what could be done about it? And all of that should be open for discussion, right? So if you came to...
So brilliant and open about a religion that not only do I know very little about, but it has been completely underrepresented on this podcast. We've discovered so many other religions. Spiritual paths.
So despite the introduction that I shot for this episode, there's been a change of plan. Basically, the van's in a lot worse state than I anticipated, and having stripped it down, it's become very evident that it's going to take a lot of work to get it back on the road. And you can see I've got the doors off and all of the front end off. And on the face of it, it looks like it's in not bad condition, but the closer you look, the more you find this is a really hard decision for me, but I think it's to be honest with you, that's been the decision that I've been delaying, pushing off into the future, kicking into the long grass. But following a conversation with Loz, I think it's the right thing to do, to go through another round of substantial body repairs on this vehicle and spend time and money on it. Is not really the smartest option. So yeah, the rolling home has got its appointment for the big scrap heap in the sky. It's a sad moment for sure, but these things happen, and it's definitely the result of neglect and just an age though. Really, it's done 240,000 miles, and I never planned to own it for this long, or to make it the basis of a book and crazy little journey. So sometimes you've got to let go, move on to the next project. Sad day today. The van that started it all is going to the big scrap heap in the sky. Apologies to any of you who might have felt slightly misled by the introduction to this video. Obviously there was a change of heart and a decision was made. That was a decision that I was struggling with for probably 3 years, and the process of making the introduction to this video, getting the T4, the rolling home, inside the workshop and finding out exactly what was wrong with it helped me make that decision. And I think now that a bit of time has passed, it was definitely the smarter option. The consolation for me is that vehicle was a catalyst for many creative projects, and I've got here in front of me a copy of our first book, which was the outcome of our successful Kickstarter campaign. And obviously this is full of many happy memories, and the fantastic thing about books is that they will be on shelves and around for a lot longer than we will. So there'll be a lot of people that I never get to meet that might see the photos and images inside of this book and might be inspired to get their own camper van or adventure vehicle. I also have a copy of our latest book, which the Rolling Home features in quite heavily as well. So that will take pride of place on our bookshelf. And I've got 2 copies of the Rolling Home Journal, which was a quarterly magazine that I started prior to Onwards, and we made 5 issues of this, and it was a great way to connect with a lot of similar individuals around the world. I did get a couple of mementos before the van went off to the scrapyard. I pulled off the original VIN plate off of the B-pillar, so I'll keep that and I'll put it in my little box of mementos and cherish that. And I've got the original key with the lanyard that spent a lot of time around my neck over the years, so I'll keep those too as memories of the van. I hope that this has resonated with a few of you out there who might be struggling with the decision of whether to keep an old vehicle or to let it go and maybe put your resources into a new camper van. And obviously the whole idea of Onwards is that we can assist people with that and really create a scenario that allows you to have as much time adventuring, travelling, seeing the world as possible, and really as little time underneath a vehicle, particularly an old one, and spending time and effort keeping it going. The caveat being I spend a lot of time watching YouTube videos, following people who restore old vehicles, restore old boats, and I'm in constant awe of those individuals. of the determination and the grit required to do that. And obviously, there might be some of you out there that think that I was a bit daunted by the project, and I really was. Obviously, you only have a certain amount of time in the day, and you have to weigh up the options. And for me, it's all about spending as much time out there, enjoying yourself, and that is the priority. So, obviously, if any of you are wrestling with whether to get rid of an old camper van and potentially invest in a new one, then we can definitely assist you with that, and maybe get to create an adventure vehicle for you. The second part of this video is very much back to our standard workshop antics, and we get to see some of the updates on the 4x4 Sprinter and some of the build progress. But thanks for sticking with me with this one. It's been something that I've been meaning to do for a long time, and it's all part of the Onward story, and I hope that it has been enjoyable in some way, shape or form to witness. So I just also wanted to say thank you to anyone who has purchased one of the Rolling Home publications or products over the years, or followed that journey. It's very much appreciated, and I'm very thankful for that period of our lives, and now just really excited to crack on with Onwards and see where this new business leads us. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you in future episodes. We're removing all of the side trims on the Mercedes Sprinter to get access to the retaining clips, because that is a common source of leak or water ingress. So we're removing all of the black trims here. We're going to clean them all up, and then we're going to seal the trim clips in place and then pop the trims back on. So this is a pretty standard procedure for this year of Mercedes Sprinter. It just means we've got all bases covered for when we enclose all of the walls with the ply lining.
And I looked at the initial materials. I looked at the explanation of how it likely.
So bottom first. Definitely easy with dogs there.
They can be incidental, right? In fact, they do best when you are healthy enough to walk around with spread. And so they tend to spare tissue. That's not the case with this guy. I've seen some people have all kinds of tissues that don't help it to spread. And that is
so?
Yeah,
cool. So I'll go in the inside.
Yeah. Using ACE2 receptor.
On climate in the 40s and the 60s didn't discuss this metric. They discussed the fact 100. And why summer in the Arctic? Because you always have snow in the winter in the Arctic. The question is, how much of it survives the summer?
I'm up on the roof of the Sprinter, and this morning what we've been doing is laying down a strip of primer ready to take the bonding, which fixes the subframe of the elevating roof to the steel of the roof. You see we've already got the aperture for the access to the elevating roof space, and I've got it all masked up. We've had the subframe on and off a couple of times just to describe it to the contour of the roof. It comes quite close, but the manufacturers stipulate that we do have to do a little bit of scribing. So what we do is we put it on, mark it up, put it on the bench, use the air saw to cut little strips off, make it so that it marries really well with the contour of the roof. And yeah, so next steps are let this primer go off, put some primer onto the subframe, then we're going to be laying down some pretty big beads of Sikaflex, which is the way that the fiberglass affixes to the steel. So laying down those large beads, and then we'll be dropping the subframe into place, putting some weight on it, leaving that overnight. We'll come back and then we'll run a bead around the outside and inside, and then that's the subframe fixed. And the subframe has the fixings in place to take the actual elevating roof shell, and then we've got a front spoiler as well, which finishes off the front there. So yeah, this is what we're into. We've also got the aperture for the vent. You can see there, the MaxFan air vent, and also we've got some studs that take the MaxTrax. So we decided that was the best place to store the MaxTrax, and the customers were keen to have them up high on this vehicle, so they weren't easily accessible by just strangers or anyone that's going to pinch them, basically. So yeah, good day. I'll show you obviously the subframe get dropped on. See, there's a serious amount of Sikaflex involved in bonding this subframe. We've got something like 20 tubes of Sikaflex 221i here, and we have to apply quite large amounts to the actual subframe itself. So we've got some big old pyramids of Sikaflex, and then I'll be applying the rest of it to the actual steel, and then we'll drop this subframe. So obviously this is the underneath of the subframe. We'll drop that down onto the steel of the roof, and this will make up the majority of the fixing. There's a lot of Sikaflex. It's like icing a really big cake. To you, like 30 mil? Give a little bit more. There, that's sweet, that's sweet. Yeah, that's golden. Sam. That's it. Yeah, that'll do, mate. Here we have the aluminium subframe that we have built to fix the solar array to the top of the elevating roof shell for the 4x4 Sprinter. What this allows us to do is fit a larger surface area of solar panels than we otherwise would be able to do on the contoured surface of the fiberglass here. So we've made the aluminium subframe, and that's bracketed through the elevating roof shell, and then we're going to have 3 150 watt flexible solar panels. So in effect, this solar array is much lighter than if we had the equivalent in solid solar panels with their own aluminium frame. So it's all made out of 30 by 30 aluminium box section. It's riveted and bolted together, and then we've got 8 individual L brackets which fix it to the roof shell. Yeah, we're really happy with how this looks. You can see that it's slightly wider than the roof shell itself, but it means that we can optimise the solar capacity on this roof. And what we're left with is a really light, sleek solution that isn't really going to affect the aesthetics too much. So you've got the bonded window and the side pod on this near side, the Sites S4 window, and then we've also got the Sites S4 window on the off side there. Seat frame already fitted. Or was that Jake deep in thought? Yeah, it's looking serious now, isn't it? Yeah, awesome. Great to have that up. So I can get that spoiler on next. Next step, get the spoiler on, get the gas tank on. It's the shower cubicle complete. It's all constructed out of lightweight poplar plywood as well, so it's going to be trimmed on the outside. And Jake's already CNC'd all of the plastic tanking. It's got its protective film on at the moment, but it fits perfectly. Really happy. We've got the sub battens bonded to the floor. Jake's running some conduit for the First Fix electrics, and we are just about to get the aluminium subframe for the solar panels fitted to the elevating roof. You can see we've now got the elevating roof all up there and finished. Yeah, got number 2 on it, hasn't it? Yeah. You going down first? So a productive start to the year for us, and we're really happy with progress thus far on the 4x4 Sprinter. You can see that we now have the tent fitted, and I'm going to climb up the ladder and show you the finished solar array, because we're quite proud of how this has come together. See, it looks really smart on the top of the elevating roof there. Jake has finished the insulation inside, so we have all of the insulation fitted. We have the outside of the shower cubicle all trimmed up. We have the floor all insulated, and the subfloor boards have gone in. And there's going to be a custom Iroko floor going on top of this. And Jake's just about to crack on with the First Fix electrics. See, we've got the sink all in place. There he is. It's looking great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Happy me?
Spaceship at the moment.
Well, it's been a pretty productive January, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Cold but productive.
Yeah, cold but productive.
Maybe productive because it's cold.
Yeah, for sure. Next door we have a new vehicle arrived for a build. So this is a 2020 Volkswagen T6 along wheelbase, and we sourced this in white for the customer because they're going to go for a green two-tone, so white on the top, green on the bottom. This has all been stripped out inside. We've marked up the roof ready for the elevating roof to go on, which we have just here, and hopefully you see some of this build in future episodes. But for the time being, thanks for watching this episode, and we'll see you in a few weeks